Yes, here we go. It's the Monday Club. Brothers Boyce are back together. It's been a little while, Jonathan, since it was just me and you. We'll do all that good stuff, then we'll let you speak, because that just tends to be the way it is now. Even Timmy Bing, before the show had even started, they'd put, well, Russell, at the beginning. So you're obviously getting a wee bit of notoriety, Jonathan, I think, with these ridiculous openings you do. But I'm all for them. I'm all for them and your haircut. Just the same way you're all for the bus and my haircut. I appreciate it all, mate. Honestly, I really do. I'm glad we're on mutual terms with all of that. But all that good stuff means if you want to give us a wee like right now, hit the like button and get us all the traction. We don't want be falling behind in the charts and all that. Nobody cares, mate. But if you want to give us a wee share on your social medias, that'd be great. If you want to slag our hair, not my hair anymore, you want to slag our hair, that's absolutely fine as well. If you want to hit the subscribe button, it's completely free. Give it a wee subscribe. Get a bash. If you want to obviously become a Boise Bus member, like so many of you have, it's $1.99 a month. All it does is pay for the wheels to be on the road, and it actually makes a big difference. It does help us a lot, keeps us motivated. Boise Bus members are the likes of Jim C, Phil McGinley, San Fran Celtic, Jim Dolan, Pam, Alistair Jack, and loads and loads and loads of the San Fran Celtic's probably still my favourite of the names. What's your favourite Avatar name that's been on the bus so far?
I don't know. There's a few good ones. O'Malley.
I used to like Chunks and Chunks was good, eh?
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Chunks and Chunks. Then he went away a bit, and then he came back and he was calling himself Revenge of Chunks and Chunks. And I didn't really quite know what that meant. But if you're watching Chunks, we miss you. San Fran Celtics just sounds good. He spent a bit
rolls off the tongue well, doesn't it?
Timmy Bing's not bad either, that we brought up earlier, eh? Timmy Bing's not bad.
Timmy Bing.
But I think San Fran Celtic rolls off the tongue. I don't think he just came up with that though, like just like, I was sitting bored, man. I just like put up a wee. It just snake in my head. I think San Fran Celtic's thought about that one. Oh, Pam's right. Balls to the walls. I do love that one as well. Yeah, balls to the walls. It's obviously because there's a lot of people who listen on Spotify, on iTunes, etc. And those who listen on that must go, what the fuck are they talking about sometimes when I read out the old avatar before I start reading out their comment. They must be taking on a different journey before I explain at someone's point that I'm reading. So I get that as well. Yeah, San Fran Celtic. That's my favourite tonight. Anyway, Jonathan, enough of that shite. Over to you, son. I'm going to go silent.
Well, Russell, in the last couple of weeks, it seems the word around Glasgow has been changed. We've seen a new Rangers manager be appointed and been labelled the Messiah after only one fixture. However, when it comes to Messiah figures, it seems as if there's also been a change amongst the Celtic support as our manager finally got the adulation he deserved as the crowd began chanting his name once again. When you're looking at changes and you are looking at the game at Tynecastle, it's quite clear Matt O'Reilly is now a player transformed in this new look Celtic outfit. And really, when we're all talking about change, the winds of change seem to be brewing in Celtic's favour at the moment, and it's whipping up a storm in time for Wednesday when Celtic take on Atletico Madrid, and the change that is coming is a must-win fixture for Celtic, and it is time for Celtic to once again show Europe that they are capable of winning on the grand stage. The changes are coming. Buckle up, Russell.
Love it, mate. I love it. Europe and the SPFL are two different dimensions that they find themselves in right now, those Jonathan. Do you know what I mean? Like, the way we are right now is, I think, I was talking to Terry yesterday, I hope I didn't sound negative, because I'm not. I'm an excitable chap. But it's so routine right now in the SPFL. This is what Brendan brings. This is meant to be what you're excited about. But it's just, I think he's just got this whole... See, by the time Brendan's took over, if you told him by the 23rd of October, Rangers would be on a different manager, The nearest challengers were St Mirren for the majority of the time. They'd been there up to October. I don't even know. Are they still second? I haven't looked at the league table. And you'd be going to 5, 6 of the toughest away games and winning all of them. Not a problem at all. He went, no, I was told it got better. I got told it wouldn't be on my own way when I come back. Then you've got the contrast that with Europe. And Europe feels very different. Europe feels this is the hangover Brendan's picking back up. And he's decided to go, do you know what? See, when you're rough sometimes on a Sunday morning, right? I was at a wedding last weekend, for example. I was at a stag do the weekend before that. See, when you're hungover, what do? You get back in the cans. And Brendan's brought back his bag of cans. And the same hangover, though, is there facing him in Europe. Let's be real here. Because it is the same, I don't know how to describe it, the same obstacles that still need to be to go over. That almost is playing it down. Is very, very difficult at this level. But he's got 2 losses out of 2. He finds himself now with the worst managerial record in Europe. But in Scotland, pretty much untouched. I know the League Cup stuff and that, but as I've always said, I don't give a shit about that. I never did. I'm like, it's one that if it's there to be won, it can be a wee kickstart for. But if we were to dismiss that and it made our European successes to go better, I'd be all in. However, right, we've got 2 defeats for 2 in Europe, and now it's a double header against Atletico Madrid. So whilst he has reclaimed the sort of masterful ways he had in this league before, Champions League's been a bit more of the same as what we've seen before as well. Good performances, even under Ange. Decent display, competed, got fuck all. Now, this double header against Atletico, that's the toughest team in the group, and it's them twice in a row. Where are we in comparisons with both the league and the Champions League? What's your take?
Well, I think what he's proven in the league when he's came back, he's done exactly what he did the first time around and has pretty much been flawless. I think his record's even better at the start of this league campaign than it's been in any of his other previous seasons. He's won every game apart from one draw against St Johnstone. It's an incredible start to the league campaign, and he knows how to run Scottish football. I think games like Hearts at Tynecastle, to be honest with you, are right up his street. The games where there's a bit of adversity going into them. There's question marks there as to whether we can get away with 3 points. I think Brendan Rodgers loves those types of fixtures in Scottish football. I think he's obviously looking at the Champions League now. He is going to be much closer to full strength, which is a big thing. He's not had his full best starting 11 available in the first couple of games. So I think he's now fully comfortable with the players he has for selection on Wednesday. I think the players are now fully aware of what is expected of them. I think he's tweaked things slightly in terms of the setup, to accommodate certain players. I think he's certainly getting his ideas better across. The players are definitely coming on to more of a game. So there's a lot of positivity, I think, going into Wednesday. I don't think Atletico Madrid are, an absolute giant. They're not the same as they were, 5, 6, 7 years ago, where they were making latter stages of the tournament. That being said, you can't just go and underestimate them either. But there is possibilities there for Celtic to cause damage to Atletico Madrid. And that's what they need to try and do. They need to find a way to get that elusive win, because it's a monkey on the back. I do genuinely think if Celtic are able to crack the Champions League and get a win in this competition, it's going to then build that momentum going forward. It's just the case that at the moment, we're now just counting how many times we've fallen short and had even, a couple of hard luck stories along the way. But hard luck stories don't cut it. I think if he's able to find a way to actually get a win, it'll kickstart the whole thing. I genuinely believe that. I think the one thing that players are lacking, and to some extent the fans as well, Russell, is they're lacking that bit of belief that Celtic are actually able to get a win in this competition, that they're actually able to beat the teams at the Premier table. And I genuinely think Celtic are good enough at home to be beating any one of those teams in the group stages. It'll be interesting to see how we line up on Wednesday, but I think that's the ultimate conundrum that, Brendan has came back for ultimately, is because he wants a piece of Europe. He feels that's something he could have done better in the first time around, and that's why he came back. I make no mistake about it. Atletico Madrid on Wednesday, whilst perhaps on paper hardest team in the group, I think Brendan Rodgers will look at this as another opportunity for Celtic to go and try and lay a marker down and show that they can get results at this level. And I'll be interested to see how he tends to line this one up, because I think there's a good chance it happens on Wednesday.
Well, regardless whether he's got his strongest team or not, the two games so far, I agree. Gary Brown just said it there. He just took the words out of my mouth. We shouldn't have lost either of those games so far. There's where I'm coming up with the hangover analogy from. Because I do feel like that's a wee bit more same old, same as it ever was sort of thing. The league, very similar. It's not a hangover. It's the back on it vibe. It's the, I had one shandy and I'm feeling great again. Brilliant. That's what we'll do domestically. Brendan Rodgers will lift the league title this year. I called it weeks ago. It's a matter with they what you call him, PC, Philip Clement. Nobody cares, mate. You've got no chance. Brendan, over the 38-game Scottish season, wins league titles. He would have won 10 in a row had he still been there, COVID or not as well, sadly. However, when it comes to Europe, he's got his own individual record. And we talk about egos, Jonathan. And we spoke very at length about Brendan's ego being a massive reason for him to come back to Celtic. Because certain people have that. Do you know what? I know they hate me. Well, when I come back and do it. Well, Brendan's ego, we have to be consistent with. He will not like the current narrative that is getting used, and rightfully so, because it's based on facts, that 2 wins from 20 makes you the worst manager in Champions League history. He won't like that shit. He will not like that. A win away from home against Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone's, would be pretty sensational. And if you want to talk about kickstarts like you were there, that would be more than that. That would be a re-energizing of everyone's ambitions for what Europe can bring. It'll probably lead folk to say, we'll win the whole thing. That's fine. I would mean it gives us a chance at third, which I would take right now. Already after 2 games, sadly. That's where we find ourselves. But when we look at the Gulf, how difficult is it when Celtic, in my opinion, are, with Brendan there, a gulf apart in their own league? Can go to near rivals like Hearts, win with relative ease. We've got 6 of the toughest away fixtures in the first 11. I spoke about this yesterday with Terry. And then you've got the Champions League jump. Now, I like the idea that Brendan keeps them level-headed and we won't treat anyone with any less respect than what we would Atletico Madrid, for example, just because they're domestic and I know we'll win. We'll still go in with the same mindset. But how difficult, realistically, is it a jump for Celtic? We could talk about not being tooled up for it till the cows come home. I'll say at the end of every show this season, keep an eye on that board. And I'll stand by it because it's the right thing to say. Because it's being consistent in your argument. But now we're in the mix of it. How realistic, Jonathan, really? If you're telling the truth, are Celtic going to pick up points in the next 2 fixtures in the Champions League? And see, once it goes to 4, and it is no points where we're not to pick up anything, then it's done. It's fucked. And the dead rubber comes Feyenoord when we pump them, which I think we will. I wasn't impressed by them at all. Will be a meaningless one that takes away all credibility from the result anyway and doesn't actually impact outcomes, which I'm all about. And I believe all managers are all about. Affecting outcomes is what is that is the name of the game. That's what the business is. How confident are you we can actually get points for these next 2 games, despite the domestic bliss? Yet again, Celtic already find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the domestic football, I mean, you could argue that, the fixture lists have probably been to Celtic's benefit in terms of preparing them for the Champions League, because they're playing the hardest games they possibly can domestically, rather than playing, the bottom half of the table at home. So they are trying to get them, well, the way the fixtures have worked out, it has actually potentially benefited Celtic. The problem really is the league standard in Scotland isn't up to much, so it's probably not helped them as much as perhaps it could have done, in the years where Hearts were, for example, a much stronger team. But when you're looking at the Champions League, you look at Atletico Madrid. I mean, I think Celtic, if they're going to have any chance in this group, they're going to have to win at Celtic Park on Wednesday. They're going to have to It's do or die for me on Wednesday night. I can't see them getting a result out in Madrid. I'd love to be wrong on that, but I think Atletico will be too strong on their own
But you
patch.
just said it's do or die. But if it's do or die, then explain that.
Well, do or die because I think we'll lose in Madrid. So I think if we don't win at Celtic Park on Wednesday, then we're going to lose in Madrid either way. I think. Which then leaves you 4 games in, no points. The group's essentially over. Whereas if you're able to beat Atletico Madrid on Wednesday night, then you're right in the hunt. To hopefully finish third in the group. So for me, it's important that we're able to find a way to win this game on Wednesday. And I do think there's a potential there to win this because I'll be honest with you, I think Atletico Madrid won't come there all guns blazing like certain teams that we could have drawn will do. I think Atletico Madrid will be a bit more pragmatic in their approach. I'm not saying that necessarily will help us or not.
Are they not the top scorers in Spain or something like that this season? Or are they way outscoring their previous Simeone years this season already, which is obviously typical because they're in our group. But I've seen something like that they're firing all cylinders apparently, not just from a defensive manner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really watch the Spanish league to comment exactly how many goals they've been scoring, but generally speaking with Simeone, he does have a way of playing, and his primary concern, I think, in games where he's taking his squad away from home, I think he'll probably try and make sure they don't lose the game in the first instance and then try and push on from there. I might be wrong. Maybe he will end up having a go and, he'll try and do us for 3s or 4s, but I genuinely think they will try and be a bit more pragmatic, similar to what Lazio tried to do the last time. And obviously Lazio ended up coming away with 3 points, albeit Celtic were pretty unfortunate to lose that game. I think Atletico Madrid might adopt a similar approach, which I think will then allow us to have a lot more of the ball, hopefully gets players' confidence up, having that bit of extra possession, gets the fans on side because they're not constantly chasing balls left, right and centre and constantly under the cosh like they can be against other teams that do tend to go for the throat a lot more. Then I think that does set it up. I think as well, Celtic are the ones that desperately need to win this game. So the onus is well and truly on us on Wednesday to try and take the game to them. And whether that ends up working out in our favour or not, time will tell. But it's certainly a game where we're going to have to be on the front foot. I think Atletico Madrid, as I say, will set off a bit, which I think does create an opportunity there for us to take advantage of that situation. But whether or not that actually plays out, I'm not so sure. But if you're asking me in terms of how important the game is, it's massive. Celtic have to find a way to win. It doesn't matter how they do it. I don't care if it's one of these games like Barcelona 10 years ago where we have 10% of the possession, have 1 or 2 shots on target and win the game by the odd goal, or whether it's a convincing performance and result to go with it. The bottom line is we need to try and find a way to win this match. And that's really where we're at with Atletico Madrid. We didn't want to be in this position going into this game where we were on 0 points. We shouldn't probably be in this position. We are now in this position. It's up to Brendan Rodgers and the team to try and dig ourselves out of a hole here.
Well, the hole has been dug by Celtic, in my opinion. That's the frustrating bit. And by the way, see, at the end of the day, regardless of how unequipped Brendan may feel he's been, or I certainly feel he's been, those games that we've watched with our own 2 eyes have been games that Celtic could have still took 3 points out of each from, let alone a point from each from. Certainly not lost both. But that is the space we find ourselves in. Atletico at home, I think, is the one you could have got away with looking at the group we went. See if we've dropped points at home to Atletico Madrid, whether it be a defeat, whether it be a draw. If you'd shown me the 2 performances, or the 2 displays by both sides, not just Celtic being brilliant, because I don't think Celtic were brilliant in either, but if you showed me the games without the goals included, I'd have felt more confident going into this Atletico Madrid game going, well, do you know what? See if the inevitable happens in this and we do end up on the wrong side of a defeat at home. Then the other 2 games, I know we've got something from. But we've created this rod for our own back where we're not in that space. Now it's must do. And I'm sorry, Champions League Celtic must win games. I've got no... and I hate being this guy because it's just not me. But I've got to be consistent. I combine it with the summer recruitment, and then I look at how the groups played out. I look at Atletico Madrid's form. I look at Celtic in the Champions League, and I go, I'm sorry. If we were to get something this time, I might adopt this attitude more often because I like to be the optimist. The bus is a positive place, but it's never served me right in terms of Europe. Bodo Glimt I always go back to. I think I did a watch along for one of them. A fucking watch along. Getting schooled off Bodo Glimt. So, I don't know. I think come Thursday, this is the balance Brendan's got to manage. Not just the first round of fixtures in the league being particularly difficult, but the other side, that is what you're up against from your own club, the powers that be above, in Europe's premier competition being a sideshow. This is why once the Champions League's out the way, everyone gets into the wee cotton bud bed, Jonathan, that gets made. No, the bed made of cotton wool. It's got I actually bought a wool jumper today at TK Maxx. Plenty of other places about. It's very cool. But a cotton wool bed, you can lie in and go, well, look at the last 7-8 months. They've been amazing. They've been amazing, Jonathan. We've won week in, week out. We've beat the Huns. Oh, you beat the Huns. They're shite. Nobody cares anymore. We always end up winning the league. The only time we've not is when nobody was watching. But I just think that with this Champions League backdrop, it's far harder to keep the momentum Brendan will inevitably get, right? He will get from November onwards because we're out of Europe. I don't want to be out of Europe. He didn't come back to be out of Europe. You see, everyone's on the we're Celtic, we're at home. I hope this time I'm the one who's wrong because I'm never like this normally. Never. I just don't see it. I think if we didn't get points to the last two, that tells you the shortcomings we had, I think, based on the performances I've seen, were ones we could have addressed. I actually think that's the minimal differences in that those two teams, Lazio and Feyenoord, were one bit of quality extra that Celtic could afford but didn't choose to afford. I think when it comes to Atletico Madrid, everyone will point to, who wants to happy clap all their life, will point to, well, they've got all this quality that we couldn't afford. And you go, it's funny that makes a difference if we get beat. And I've just got this horrible feeling that after Wednesday, if we're completely at the Champions League, then the next three games actually in Europe's premier competition become a sideshow that can distract for the good stuff we're doing domestically. Because I want the positive vibes for Brendan. I am Team Brendan. But I worry about this double header. I think once that's sort of nailed and the inevitable, I think it is inevitable, happens, it's a very tricky way to navigate the next sort of couple of games out of that, whilst keeping a positive spin. But by God, once they then potentially win the League Cup or another team wins the League Cup, once that's all out the road, I think from December to May, everyone will forget it. That frustrates me even more. Do you know what I mean? Like, that annoys me. Like, fucking keep your eyes on it all the whole time. Like, I want to be positive with the Champions League. I want the Champions League to be a competition we're in that we want to make a fist of. Feyenoord and Lazio should be inspiring any board of directors of a club smaller than Celtic, let alone a board of directors with £70 million in the bank that they just won't spend. You cannot look at those two matches and go, we can't compete at this level. But what if it's next year? Atalanta and fucking Utrecht, or I don't know who's in, clubs like you wouldn't maybe not associate being the top dogs of Holland or the top dogs of Italy, but they find themselves in our group. Why can we not, surely after this year, go, we were that close to it by doing nothing? What if we did something? I just wonder when the penny will drop. the coefficient, your Maw's coming in, not our Maw, Jonathan, but your Maw is his handle. You know, the coefficient keeps getting humped. We might end up needing qualifiers. That's. Are we wanting to go back to that, or at least take advantage of the situation we're in? But yeah, I don't like being negative, but that's how I feel right now. Where are you sitting? You're going on Wednesday, aren't you?
Yep.
You're up for it. Yeah, you're feeling confident. I get it.
I think I genuinely think Celtic have a chance. I think they've shown in their first two games that they are capable. Performances have been there, results haven't. It's been the story of the last year or so in the Champions League. The breakthrough is going to come for me at some point. I'm hoping it is Wednesday. I think it can be Wednesday. I think Celtic have shown that they are progressing as a team under Brendan. Yeah, of course, the recruitment wasn't where it should have been in the summer. And we can go back on that till the cows come home. And no doubt when the Champions League campaign is over, we absolutely will end up doing that if it goes the way you think it will, and we end up finishing bottom of the group, which is, if we're betting men, then that's most likely where Celtic are going to end up finishing if we're looking at this ruthlessly. But I look at it and I just think there's a lot of positivity around the club at the moment. I do think Brendan Rodgers has managed to install his style of play a lot more on the players. The players are now fully bought in, I think, to what he's trying to do. I do think you've seen examples with Greg Taylor, him changing back to be an inverted left back to keep him happy and get the best out of him. Brendan Rodgers is making compromises with this team to try and get the absolute best levels of performance across the board.
Very quickly though, if adapting Greg Taylor's position is going to have any impact in our Champions League group campaign against the Atletico Madrid managed by Simeone for the last decade, we are in far bigger trouble than what I've even suggested.
Well, I mean, I didn't really fancy Greg Taylor playing actually as a
first example you went to
against Atletico Madrid. But I'm just saying that as one example of something he's tweaked. But I think with Brendan, he might have a one or two tricks up his sleeve for Wednesday. He knows the importance of the fixture. To be fair to Brendan as well, when it comes to the Champions League the first time around, he has managed to negotiate third place finishes before. It's not something that is beyond the realms of possibility that he can do again yet. I think we have to try and stay away from the defeatist attitude because it's helping absolutely nobody. It doesn't help the team whatsoever. If the fans
we don't
are
affect
like
that, though. We don't affect that.
Really,
come on. I don't see if Matt O'Reilly and Greg Taylor are sitting right now watching the Boyce bus going, for a beat. Those two idiots, those two Boyce brothers have said it. Our defeatist attitude is just a one from a space of realism, Jonathan, not one that you would expect to be behind closed doors. Let's be real here. They're not going to be talking like this. We're just fans talking like this.
Yeah, but I mean, this will happen. This bleeds into the stadium, though, and then that can have a bit more of an adverse effect. We've seen moments in games where it happens. The Lazio game I use as an example, the goal gets chopped off by VAR and the whole air goes out of the stadium and it just deflates everyone to the point where they can't then rise themselves back up to try and get the players to continue playing, either. And the players' heads had gone down at that point as well. So there are certainly moments. I'm not saying it's the absolutely key factor in some ways that perhaps we used to always think it was, that the fans were the 12th man when, Martin O'Neill was in charge and Celtic were able to get wins at home and had an incredible home record at that point. But I do think it does make a psychological difference when the fans are on side and are making a lot of noise and are, genuinely believing the team's going to get a result. I think that's where it comes down to. And I do think when the game kicks off on Wednesday night, I think the fans will be up for it. I think there will be a bit of needle. There is a little bit of history in this fixture, as well. I hope it's one of these games where I think, the first 20 minutes or so are going to be absolutely crucial because we'll find out very early on what Atletico Madrid's game plan is. And if, as you were saying, that they're one of the highest scoring teams in the La Liga this season and they try and come out of the traps fast, then we need to be able to counter that and make sure that we don't end up falling out of the game early. If they decide to go the route of being more pragmatic, which they do sometimes do in Europe, particularly away from home, regardless of what's happening in their domestic games, then Celtic then again also need to be on point to try and take advantage of that because there is going to be a point in the game where Atletico Madrid are going to have sustained pressure on us, and we need to make sure that when we have the ball and we have the opportunities to make a difference, that we're taking them, because that is going to be absolutely crucial with how Atletico Madrid are going to set themselves up. So I'm kind of looking at it. I'm not as pessimistic, I don't think, as you are. I'm a bit more optimistic, perhaps because I'm going on Wednesday.
Is there always pessimistic and optimistic? Is realistic not what's meant to be in the middle?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're probably leaning more towards realism than I am, but I like to believe that Celtic are capable of being better than they've been able to do so far, in this tournament. And I genuinely don't think Atletico Madrid are a team that Celtic can't hurt at Celtic Park. I genuinely think there is an ability there that Celtic have to cause them problems. The team is a pretty good team that we've managed to put together, and we've shown in the first couple of games that we have been able to put together good performances. And Atletico Madrid haven't looked absolutely brilliant in their opening games in the Champions League. I've seen them against Feyenoord in the pub before the game against Lazio in the last round of fixtures, and they weren't
Jonathan
brilliant.
watched Atletico in the pub. Now, if you've ever met Jonathan in the pub after a Celtic game, which I've had the privilege of doing. Yeah, well, so trust me. Whatever he's getting up to before and then during the game in terms of shots and drink, I can assure you, I wouldn't go with your memory.
I only had 1 pint, 2 pints maybe at a push.
Jonathan, I met you after the last Celtic game. You told me you did 4 pints all day, and you were shouting at me. You're like, no, you definitely had more.
I think that was after the Rangers game, though. That was a bit different.
It wasn't the Rangers
game. Come on, Russell, you're better than that.
It wasn't the Rangers game.
It was. I think.
Motherwell away, I'm sure. You offered me a ticket for it.
Oh, that was different as well. I was at the game. I was at the game. That was different too. That doesn't count. That was a very dramatic finish, that one. I think I was passing there, to be sure. I think I was. But definitely before the game, I was fine watching that. And what I've seen definitely didn't spark any fear into me in the same way that you've got the fear over Atletico Madrid. I think the game is gettable. But Celtic have to get everything right on the night, and that's where the problem has been for the past 12 months, is that they have not been able to get everything quite right on the night, and part of that has been down to the recruitment. But if you're asking me, the players that we have on the pitch and available to us, the manager we have, that will be trying to get the result. It's all there for Celtic. Celtic have an ability.
It's all there for Celtic.
It's all there for Celtic to go and prove the doubters wrong. It's all there for Celtic to go and prove the doubters wrong.
Well, I would love it. So much so for Brendan as well. I really would love it, because we look at the weekend that's just been. We hear the fans bringing the Brendan Rodgers song back. I've got to be honest. I'm ready for the 10 in a row one. I know that might be a bit far ahead. I'm more convinced I could sing Brendan Rodgers is here for 10 in a row. I'm convinced Celtic will get out of this group. And I hate feeling like that. So for Celtic that wants to ask the question, he's not asking the question. I think his statement's ridiculous, though. No offence, San Fran, because I love your avatar. And I like your contributions. But he says we have no right to be this downbeat. Well, I do feel we do. Because the two teams, Lazio and Feyenoord, aren't all that. And we've had 2 opportunities to get at very least a draw out of both games. We've got fuck all for both. That's why I'm downbeat. The best team in the group, the bona fide best team, whether they were ranked or seeded 1, is totally irrelevant. Let's be real. Atletico were always the prime candidates to qualify for this group. Playing them now 2 times in a row won't just shape the group, it will define whether Celtic are even in with a chance of sorts or whether they're out completely. In fact, we'll probably find out this week, and that's with half the group campaign still to go. I am downbeat because of that. Just because with the pot 4 team, forget that, because you need to flip that and go, well, we're Feyenoord to be played in match day 1. A pot 1 team, San Fran, even you, whether they were factually, you watch them, they're not that level.
They're not the top 8 teams in Europe.
They're not. They're just not, okay? And Lazio, I look at them and I go, is that, a team that we would want in the Europa League? Yes. Is it at home? I would expect us to have got something from the Europa League, and I hope for, because I think it brings a bit of glam. It's Lazio. Then I watch how the game plays out, and I feel sick that we've lost it because they were there for the taking. when it comes to Atletico Madrid, I think they're the different gravy in the group. They're the ones that are the, well, 6 point sacrifice, anything's a bonus. Now it's a must thing of them. Like, we have to get something Wednesday. And it's not even something we need to win. I think that changes everything. I don't ever look at it, we should be downbeat about this. It's about talking facts. It's about being realistic. And I think it's realistic to say, as a pot 4 team, we got the best ever pot 1 team we could have dreamed of. I think it's realistic to say, if you're going to get a team for Serie A, you get Lazio, and the first time you play them was at home, and you take the lead. I think these are things that I look for that are absolutely realistic beat, if you like. Now, a puncher's chance. I will agree with San Fran Celtic on that. I don't think this group was a puncher's chance when we started it, though. Jonathan, it's rewriting it a wee bit. That's a puncher's chance now. That, to me, is that optimistic line that I struggle with.
I think it's yeah. I mean, it's similar to last year.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, thanks. It's similar to last year where Hans Postecoglou was very close, and when that group was drawn, everyone thought outside of Real Madrid we had a very good chance at second or third in that group. And I think again this time around, people are looking at it and thinking we had a very good chance of qualifying from the group, or if not, at least getting third. And then as the games go on, the narrative almost tends to shift back into that where we were bottom seeds. So what were we expected to do? And that, I guess it's kind of natural for fans to kind of look for reasoning behind why things haven't went the way they wanted them to, and that's always going to be the case. But when you're looking at this group, it was gettable. It was definitely, compared to what we could have got, and it was definitely a favourable draw. I don't think anyone can really argue that, despite how it's gone so far. I think, when you're looking at Atletico Madrid at home, you'd have hoped going into this game when this tournament started, we'd have been sitting on, at least a couple of points, maybe even 3 if we managed to beat Lazio. At home, you'd have been looking at possibly at the first 2 games and, maybe accepting Feyenoord away might have been a bit too much. The fact we've got no points, albeit good performances, again, very similar to last year, and what we were saying, the same old story, then it has now put a lot of pressure on this game, and it's going to be one of those ones where the narrative is going to get written by fans depending on how this game goes, Russell. We're either going to be looking at this off the back of a truly memorable night at Celtic Park where we finally rise to the occasion and everyone is then riding that wave of optimism, believing that there is still a fighter's chance at doing some real damage in the group, or we're going to start looking again for the reasons and dissecting why we haven't been able to get the job done in any of our first 3 games. Not even get the job done, not even manage to take any points whatsoever if it goes the way you think it goes on Wednesday night. And, that will again have us questioning, are Celtic actually serious about competing at this
we
level?
Know they're
because,
not.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
the board don't seem... The board definitely don't seem like they have any interest in it. But, Brendan Rodgers does. Brendan Rodgers does.
But Brendan Rodgers
it's going to lead to...
his argument strong enough then. You can't
have
it
it's going to lead to friction.
It's going to
lead to friction, I think.
I'm so Team Brendan. I can't emphasise it enough. And I was for the second he was even remotely linked to the job. In fact, I think I suggested him a year ago that he would work for Celtic again. I would always want it. I don't know, nostalgia. Phil tells which one. But like I said, I think he'll come back because he wants to. I'm Team Brendan a million miles away. But Brendan also doesn't mean because I want him to do better for Celtic than I wanted Ange to do better for Celtic. Always, Celtic's the key, right? But then you just have your individual things on managers, right? There's not two ways about that. That's just the way it is. Martin O'Neill's my man. That's it. Right? Tommy Burns is my man. Right? I love these guys. Strachan won three leagues in a row. 2 last 6 of the Champions League. He'll never be my man. He'll never. I never wanted him. As much as I wanted Celtic to do well, he was a byproduct of it. It was like, oh well, Strachan's done well. Also, Brendan, I'm all in on. No 2 ways. But Brendan isn't immune from criticism. He chose to let this be his Champions League squad. He is as complicit as the board. Now, that's not because I want public arguments like last time, but I would have thought with that money there, he's too smart, mate. There's no way he doesn't know about it. He would have got his point across more strongly to get different players involved in that team, better players involved, and certain targets achieved. If this is Brendan, honestly, with the board's ear, I'd be shocked. This to me looks like a window for a second Champions League group that has been dictated by a board, not a manager, not a football manager at all, without even one chink, not one Hollywood. Brendan's back. Here's his boy signing. Not even that. Nothing. I think that's deflated a wee bit. How well he's doing domestically. How do you feel now? The perspective on Rodgers is, young man. What do you think of that? Because for him to get loved again, it was brilliant to see everyone singing these songs. I know people argue about whether the Green Brigade are there or not, and that's why it's happened. They don't define what I think about Celtic either way. Whether I agree with some of their points, disagree with some, that tends to be how my life runs. But one thing is for sure, no one influences me. I was just delighted to see Brendan getting the sing song, and he seemed to enjoy it. However, Europe, I think he's not immune to criticism from how he's tooled himself up for this competition. Don't make your first statement and say, I'm back to make an impact in Europe, and then somehow get everyone to feel sorry for your player violin when results go the exact way we all knew they would after that summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're looking at Brendan, it's certainly been a case that the fans are now coming back around to him. Any lingering doubters, I think, have been won over. Perhaps there might be some in the Green Brigade that haven't quite fully came round to him. I guess we'll find out a bit more on Wednesday, whether or not the chants continue or whether the Green Brigade decide to go down a different line of songbook. But we'll find out on Wednesday. But I mean, in terms of Europe, there's no two ways about it. I don't think Brendan can have been overly happy with how that window went, to put it mildly. However, I take your point. Perhaps he should have been more vocal about it at that time. Perhaps there was an element there of Brendan Rodgers just being happy to be back, because I genuinely think he is pretty happy to be back at Celtic and is perhaps grateful for the opportunity to try and, right not so much wrongs, but to try and, rebuild his legacy slightly, because he probably felt perhaps...
His last interview, mate, right, was he did an interview whilst the international break was on. He says, the only club that could have got me back was Celtic. And he goes, I can't deny that. He goes, I'm back because it was Celtic. He goes, I promised I was wanting to take a break, but when it's Celtic, I had to come back. I take that on board, but that doesn't mean you come back on their terms. That means once you've got the foot in the door, you get your own... You still come back as the same, not Brendan Light. You have to then, because do you know what will happen to him? Yes, he might have been giddy over the summer. See, when these results happen and the Champions League group goes, if it goes the way I think it will, and I hope I'm wrong, I fucking pray I'm wrong. But see, if I'm right, he will then find these boys properly and go, fuck this. I'm going to tell them. I shouldn't have took that.
Oh, I agree with that.
It should be once you get the job back, you still need to go back in as the same Brendan from before. Don't be overly grateful. You can't have that either. And now we're in a situation where the first team, our first choice 11 that goes to play against Atletico Madrid this week is not as strong as last season's, and you weren't even there, Brendan. You've inherited the team, brought in 7 players, and yet the first team's not as good as the one the year before. Some blockbuster managerial appointment you are, mate. You could argue that.
Yeah, you definitely could. I mean, the summer window's definitely got feelings at everybody's door. That's in situ at Celtic Park just now. So there's definitely an element of that. I do think we'll get a better indication of how Brendan Rodgers is feeling, come January, if this group ends up playing out the way the odds would suggest, and Celtic finish bottom of the group and potentially don't put up much of a fight for a third spot if they were, to lose again on Wednesday. I would agree. I think Brendan Rodgers might well then decide to go back to the board come January and tell them how unacceptable the summer window was. But by that point, the horse has bolted. All he can really do then is try and fix the situation for next season, because one thing's for sure, with Brendan Rodgers in charge, Celtic are going to run away with this league title, in my humble opinion, which gives him the opportunity in January, I think, to already start planning for a Champions League campaign the following year.
It's
But
bullshit, this though.
The problem there is,
Jonathan, no one comes in January, and it's for this Champions League campaign the next year. It's such a lie. It's unbelievable how much of a lie it is. I don't know why folk can't see this now. Oh, get them bedded in, and they'll be right, chomping at the bit. See if a good player comes in, they take up their place in the team for the get-go, regardless of the window. It makes no odds. See if the first team ready, they play. Rest assured, that is the fact. I am sick now of this silly argument, which I fell into. Oh, they come for a different continent. See if they're not making an impact in the first team for the get-go. They weren't first team ready when they were signed. It's not about preparing them then. And see, as well, for Celtic fans, let's get one thing straight as well. See if you've came in January, we're still going to want the same amount of players to come in the summer that excite us anyway, because it's a window's opened. That's just how a fan works. It's how our mind works. We're excited by new players coming in. We'll then criticise no new players coming in. What? Well, they came in January. Not good enough. The window's open. That's just how we are. Good players come in, they hit your first team, they make an impact. Everyone's overcomplicating it now. It's bullshit. Honestly, don't fall for that lies either.
Yeah, I think when I'm talking about January, I think he's going to be looking at January as an opportunity to actually get the players in that he's identified, because I don't think that's happened.
Which no manager ever said in their life. No manager's ever said, I'm going to wait till January, or ever been their tactic. I'll go to the January window to get in the guys I want. No one says that, mate.
Well, no, it wasn't what was planned. It wasn't what was planned, but I think the board have obviously ended up deciding what was happening in the summer window. Brendan's went along with it, which is his own fault at the end of the day. But I suspect come January, he is going to have a lot more autonomy, or he'll certainly demanding a lot more autonomy after what's happened in the summer window. And you might well see a few more actual Brendan-type signings in January, particularly if this group, to be fair, I think no matter which way this group goes from here on in, if we're still in Europe and he manages to dig us out of this hole for the second half of the season, I still think Brendan Rodgers, he's a perfectionist. He'll look back and he'll know that summer window wasn't good enough, regardless how this plays out over the next few weeks in the Champions League. But if he manages to pull off a miracle and Celtic are still competing in Europe after Christmas, I still think he'll be then going and demanding that he gets in players that he's identified this time around. I think there was too much gratitude being shown by Brendan when he first came back in. I think he didn't want to step on anybody's toes too much because he was just happy to be back in. I don't think that'll happen in future windows. Just because the January window's the next window. That's why I think he'll be looking
Jonathan, that would be then, you've got to slag him off then. You cannot have it both ways. A guy who was in there for the beginning of the window to the end of the window decided not to put the team first, but decided to put, I'm happy to be here first. That's the sort of thing we would hammer Lennon for. So you cannot say that's good management.
I never said it was.
But if you're saying he's going to react by January though, mate, I'm sorry, that's too little too late. That's poor management then, no?
That's the situation we're in now, though. He's
put himself in based on what you've said.
I said that, though. I agreed with you. I said that was his fault. If he's came
why would you keep having a manager like that?
Well, I don't think he'll continue to be like that. I think that the summer window was him, dipping his toes back into the water, if you like, rather than actually fully asserting himself the way he's capable of. I think that's what's happened there in the summer window. And you've even seen that in his management style since he's came back in. There's been games where, we've been looking at his body language and, we've been questioning it in the first couple of weeks in the season. And then, he's had a few more moments. Yeah, there's been a few more moments in recent weeks where you're beginning to see him. Obviously, Livingston being a prime example, and he's doing a lot more with the players and everything else that you're now hearing about. He took a bada allegedly to Loch Lomond. this week to try and get him in the right headspace, given what's going on in the Middle East just now. You're hearing a lot of things about Brendan Rodgers, and that suggests to me he has now found his feet back under the table. Unfortunately, it didn't happen early enough for me in the summer window, and that's why I think come January, regardless of how Europe plays out, he's going to look to address that. And I think we've already seen in the last couple of months there has been an evolution of Brendan going back into those old shoes that he's used to of actually running the football department.
I get that, but see, at the end of the day, from a ruthless point of view, I don't think you get the job just because you're grateful to get that. You get the job back. Dermot doesn't phone you. Dermot might go, do you know what? I know you're the best manager to get, right? So play it cool the first summer to ease you back. No, Dermot wants the result straight away. He goes, the reason I wanted you back is to get you back to who you were before. He just want a happy medium between you and the board not being dicks in the media. But see, behind closed doors, keep striving the way you were before. They were good times. So it's on him that summer, being like that. I find it difficult to argue what Alex comes in and says, and peace to you as well, Alex. She says, players will come to Scotland if you play them. How do I know that? There's two words, Saudi Arabia. Scotland will never pay Saudi Arabian wages. But Alex's point is right. You'll never, ever get players that can make any impact in Champions League if you only pay wages for 25 years ago. See, at the end of the day, we paid money to Brendan Rodgers to get the best manager in. And Brendan's on more money than he was on first time round. That should be the opinion and the take that we do with the rest of the squad. And let's start getting it in line with the profits that the club's been making. And that doesn't lead to group campaigns with Feyenoords and Lazios that were there for the taking. Feyenoord away being a bit of an anomaly because that if you...
You there? Oh, he's gone mute. He's gone on to mute now. I don't know what he's doing.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yep.
Aye, so the Feyenoord one, I get is a bit of an anomaly because Feyenoord away, similar wages, blah, blah, blah. Just the performance annoys you because we got beat. But let's go home. That tells you when we're at home. You were talking earlier about the 12th man in that. Well, I'm sorry, if we've got this 12th man advantage, all we were then missing was that wee bit of quality. It
was fine margins. That's who I felt it was, fine margins. And yeah, you're right.
I will go back to the January fucking window. Say we bring in a couple of players. Bring it on. Hoorah. We'll be in the midst of domestic bust then. And the whole narrative will shift anyway, that everything's hunky-dory. I want us to be at it. And I think, anyway, right now, while the group's still technically only 2 games in and out in the open, the actual laser focus on what we've done to support Brendan at this level is still a bit wishy-washy. I think we'll find out, and I hope I'm fucking wrong. I just hope we pull a rabbit that, thanks to the manager, in spite of a board, that we will. If it goes the way that we go back to the San Fran Celtic post earlier, what for? Right, we're doing okay. We weren't meant to get out. Then we'll get beaten the next 2 games if we just go by the pots. We'll lose the next 2 games. That's us out. Are you want to stay laser focused in the Champions League, or you just want to kick it down the road again and go, what will the next 7-8 months being better than the Huns, eh? Oh! I don't know. I think my patience level with that will run out eventually. I'm into bigger and better things now than being better than a club that has had 11 managers in the last 12 years or whatever it fucking is. Like, who cares? Nobody cares. Like, it's nothing. It doesn't define Celtic. Celtic should be defining themselves on their next goals, their next targets, playing against better teams, beating better teams, not consistently being better than Hearts, Hibs, Rangers, the lot. If that's how you define your club, that is a club that is remaining to stay at a level and never evolve from it. And if folk don't like that, folk think, no, that's all I want. That's my bread and butter. Do you know what? That's why you have bread and butter for tea. That's why you have bread and butter. You eat bread and butter for your lunch. You eat bread and butter for your dinner. You're not imagining if it's turkey dinosaurs. You're not realising what you're capable of. You have to think better for a club like Celtic. You have to. Open eyes from any other corner of the world would look at that and go, wow, sleeping giant. I get it.
I think it's something that, Brendan Rodgers, I think, will definitely share that sort of vision. And that's why I think there will end up being friction between him and the board, in the next couple of windows if, this isn't addressed, because I think Brendan Rodgers will accept he got things wrong in the summer. The interesting thing will be, will the board accept they also got things wrong in the summer, or is this going to end up back to a situation where Brendan Rodgers is going to try and push for the club to evolve and continue to grow, and the board continue to push for just being the strongest team in Scotland, which Celtic have shown consistently they comfortably are. And so someone has to give there.
Exactly.
And we'll find that out, I think, over the next couple of windows, regardless of how this Champions League campaign plays out. Because for me, Rodgers is smart enough to know the summer window was nowhere near the standard that he would have wanted if he was in, the right place.
By it, though.
Yep, he did. And
I don't give him passes on that. As much as I love him, I'd say if it on a personal level, would I want Brendan? Is there a bit of me that likes Brendan more than Ange, if you like? Yeah, there is. I admit it. I think that was the same with Ange against Lennon. I think so. We need to be real here. You have personal likings for certain managers more than others. No one could say they celebrate Neil Lennon winning a treble the same way they did Ange winning a double even at times. I think Brendan winning a double this year, I will be more chuffed for him than I was Ange winning last season's treble. I'm just being honest. It's just my opinion. But do I think that makes him immune from criticism? The way those who wanted Ange to do so well immuned him from all criticism. He had herd immunity, Jonathan, from any criticism. I'll never be like that. I'll also pull apart wee bits in the argument where I see fit when it comes to Brendan. I don't think there's anything fucking wrong with that. But roll on Wednesday. In the meantime, in comes Phil McGinley. Phil, you're looking sensational tonight, big boy. What top are we?
That's Portugal. It's Portugal. It's an old 60s Portugal one.
I thought it was an England away top at first. I was like, he really has gone corporate tonight.
No. It's
Phil looks ready to come on for Portugal these days, mate. I'm telling you. Him and Cristiano Ronaldo are ready to rock together up front.
I wish, mate. I wish, but I'm almost 4 stone down from when I started this challenge, so it's going really, really well.
You can see it.
I'm the same age as Cristiano Ronaldo, so there you go.
It's not over yet, mate. It's not
over yet. Exactly. He's proven that it's not over.
It's not over.
Euros next summer.
Exactly. I could, but I was enjoying that feisty debate there. It was getting really. I could feel the tension there ahead of another round of sudden death. It was getting quite. See, I was enjoying that there. Good debate here on the bus. That's what you like to see. But yeah, it's been a few weeks, guys. Hope you haven't forgotten about it, because sudden death is still here and it's always here. And it's that time again, guys. The penalty competition between the Brothers Boyce. Last time we played it, Russell won and made it 6-3. He narrowed the gap.
Miracles can happen. See, Russell, it can be like Wednesday. Russell won.
Oh, don't turn in your silly wee voice at the start of the show midway through it, mate. Come on.
So, I will. I'll just simply get all the aesthetics all set up now, guys, and you can continue to talk trash to each other if you wish, or if you want to just be in the zone and just be ready to go, then so be it, guys.
I'm turning my comments off now. Thanks to everyone who's contributed to the comments, but I need to turn them off.
Yes, mine are already off. They're dignified game tonight.
That's because they're all disagreeing. That's probably because they're all disagreeing with you, mate.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think most fans will be optimistic about Wednesday. I think most fans will believe there's a possibility.
I do hope I'm wrong with that. I'm not optimistic about tonight either. So let's hope you're consistent. And upsets do happen.
Yes, well, maybe we're going to see a live action, prelude to what's to come on Wednesday. If you
are the Atletico to my Celtic.
Oh, well, here we go, guys. Yes, so as I said there a few moments ago, Russell, you've won the last time. So, we must have asked you this, but do you wish to go first or do you wish to go second and be entitled to a clue?
I'll take my clue. I'm going to go second.
Going to stick with it. Okay, so Jonathan, you shall be going first in this one. Okay, guys, there is a very generous 20 answers in this one, so quite a few. I have been saving this question for a few weeks, but obviously I haven't done something deaf in a wee while, so this one is about, because we just came out of an international break, it's actually about international football, it's not a Celtic question. Fuck. I will say now though that logical guesses are your best friend tonight, so if you're stuck, a logical guess,
Russell's clue. That's Russell's clue, surely.
That's a clue in general, because I know he's fears questions that aren't Celtic ones, but yeah, a logical guess could definitely go a long way here. So yeah, guys, tonight's question. Long before the World Cup started, the way of determining the number one team in the world was the gold medal from the Olympic Games football tournament. So simply put, can you name any nation that has won the Olympic gold in the men's football tournament from 1896 to present day? And just for clarity, I need the name of the country at the time of their victory, because also with politics being a thing, over the years many countries have broken up. Many countries have met as well.
Oh, that could be another clue there.
Have to be very particular about the team name, and yeah. So, Jonathan, have a go, mate.
Brazil.
Yes, Brazil won it in 2016 and 2020.
Nigeria.
1996, very famous one, yes.
With just a bit of banter, with a team that was probably all about average age of this panel right now.
Yep, should definitely have been investigated that one. Yes.
Oh man. I'll go for France.
France won it in 1984. Yes.
I don't have a clue with this. I would say I don't know any of these. Argentina.
Argentina 2004 and 2008. Yes, Argentina won.
Oh, that's what I meant. That's what exactly I was kidding on there.
Well done. Italy.
Italy have won it. Yes, they won it in 1936.
Got to go with the Germans. Oh, no way.
No way.
That's ridiculous.
Really?
No.
Really? I'm gonna be really controversial here. I'm gonna be really controversial just because I can. I'm gonna be spiteful, and hopefully this might be wrong as well. I'm gonna say West Germany.
No.
Oh,
I know what you're going for there. I know you're going for there.
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna go for the Soviet Union.
Yes, the USSR.
Come on, boys.
Indeed.
See if you want to be smart.
Soviet
and you
Union,
want to think about country divides that, Jonathan. Do you know what I mean?
58 and 56 and 88, the Soviet Union won it, so it is.
Back in the room.
So that'll be what, 3 apiece now after 4 kicks. So.
I didn't want to win off that, to be honest with you, Russell.
It was pathetic. I've got my clue for the
first. It was a bit.
Get this one right, mate, and shut up.
Spain.
Spain in 1992 won it. Yes.
Yeah, take the clue. Take the clue just to be safe.
Okay, that does. I've got a few teams with clues here next to them. So, this Eastern European powerhouse began breaking up apart due to conflict in the 1990s.
They're too wee. They're too big. Russia.
You've said them already. You said USSR. You said
no,
that.
Soviet Union.
Oh yes.
So Russia's the wrong answer. Russia is the wrong answer.
Oh yes.
Malaysia.
So unfortunately, Russia.
That's
yes,
right.
It was
Soviet Union is not Russia though.
Well, yeah. Well, you see, you went for Russia, but Russia would be a
wrong
but
Russia's
answer.
the wrong answer. That's fine, but they're not the same thing, Jonathan. Like you're saying. You're an idiot.
I've just seen your silly.
No, I know, but if you're going to slag me, get it right while you're slagging me.
I never said anything. I just said you were a silly cookie.
You said they're the same thing.
No, I didn't.
Oh, Phil did. Well, he's an idiot as well.
Okay, well, basically, the team that you were, the team that clue was about was Yugoslavia.
Which was my second. I've got Nigeria, Yugoslavia.
Yeah, you've won, Jonathan. You've
won.
Oh,
nice, that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
lovely.
7-3, mate. Oh, it's getting terrible.
So there was one answer that you gave, and it was quite interesting because at the start I said you have to give me the exact clue or the exact name. One of you said Germany, one of you said West Germany.
East Germany.
Germany is a correct answer.
Oh, fuck. They were terrible. I thought East Germany would have gone.
Aye, that's the only thing they've ever won. East Germany.
Andy Tom, the first player to play for East Germany and then for Germany as Germany.
Aye, they were. So,
did you know that, Jonathan?
No, I didn't. You're a fountain of knowledge
Andy
tonight.
Tom.
Only you did like that when the quiz was on.
I know, mate. I know.
So that was so. The other answers that we were in this one were quite surprising.
Portugal, Holland, England had them written down.
No. Denmark was one. The UK was one. Britain is one because they can't compete as England, Scotland, Northern Ireland.
Oh, of course, it's the Olympics.
I knew it could be England.
Canada,
Uruguay.
Uruguay, yes, they won it twice.
Bastard.
Yep.
Why do you not just? So I've got written down Nigeria, Yugoslavia, Uruguay, Soviet Union. I go for Nigeria first.
Yep.
The bottom of the list, Soviet Union, and in the middle two, I decide during the quiz. You're wrong, Boyce. What is what?
No. Uruguay was a crowd. They won it in 24 and 20, right before they won the World Cup in 1930. Sweden won it in 1948. Yugoslavia in 1960. Hungary have won it twice in the 60s. Poland have won it as well in the 70s. East Germany, the controversial one, 76. Czechoslovakia, that'd been another one where I would need the name correct. And Cameroon in the year 2000, I believe was Samuel Eto'o was in the team. Cameroon won it. And Mexico 2012. Year 2000 in Sydney.
You'd be 19. Yeah.
Two African nations won it back to back. Nigeria and then Cameroon won it.
Right, let's do a quiz, Jonathan, very quickly. Name me 3 players for the Nigeria team that won in 1986.
What a team.
Oh, I didn't know.
Kanu. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Celestine Babayaro.
Kanu.
Taribo West.
Definitely. Sunday Elise, he was definitely
Sunday Elise.
Yeah.
Finidi George.
Ajax he played for.
George.
Yeah.
Remember Ipswich signed him.
Yeah, under George.
So Ipswich finished 5th in the league, right, in the EPL in their first year in there under George Burley, and their big money signing was Finidi George, who was about 31. But they went, "This is a maverick. Like this guy's a game changer because he was that good in the 90s for Ajax and stuff." He was terrible.
Fair few. As you said though at the top there when you said it, that should be investigated, that one, because the rules are all under 20 or mostly under 23 squad. And knowing what we know about Nigerian player registrations these days.
Well, I mean Scotland, the SFA still had UEFA's department full with the Saudi Arabian under 16 one.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's
true. Scotland got to the World Cup final. What was that? Under 18s, 16s.
Under 16s, I think it was. Had like beards and mustaches and stuff like that.
I mean, I can't grow a mustache at 35, but these boys are taking the piss. Do you know what I mean? Like they got dinged for my Christmas disco, my high school Christmas disco. You're too old, mate. You've had a carrier. You're not getting in. Anyway, that rounds up the Monday Club. Thanks, Phil, for that. That was a great question, and fair dues to Jonathan. He does win. Well done, mate.
Hopefully not a sign of things to come on Wednesday, Russell.
Yeah.
No, I hope my pessimism is proven wrong. I don't like to be negative, you know that. It's not my style. I'm just a wee bit frustrated because I think the domestic bliss feeling kicks in and I go, we forget about European duty. I don't want to see the big backlash if it doesn't go well in Europe on Wednesday and everyone go, "Oh, I'm raging with the board on that." Well, if you keep your eyes consistent at the board and always keep your eyes on the board, you remain vigilant the whole way through. You remain realistic. As always, Phil, Jonathan, everyone watching, keep your eyes on the board.